Good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Cruz. This is Born Political. It's a special edition. I'm just joking. I am by myself tonight, and I chose to do this because I put a post up last weekend or a couple weeks ago, and it was relating to the attempted assassination of our president or of our former president Donald Trump, and realized it wasn't about policy. It was about maybe what his reaction was and what I had felt about it. And the storm of comments that I created, like 125 comments, and there were people going back and forth at it. It just showed the vitriol that we actually have in our country right now. And I actually felt bad. I was a part of that. Like, I didn't want to. It's not my goal. It's not the goal of even the show that I do here. It's about getting to know each other and finding out why people think the way they do. But I'm going to dedicate these shows leading up to the election. It is called Born Political, and normally I have guests on that talk about not politics, but usually talk about what's going on in town and how they're making their community better. But I think what we should concentrate on, what it made me realize was, instead of talking about the person or my feelings about someone or a candidate, or how I feel about them, do I like the way they talk, or they laugh too loud, or all the things and superfluous things that we judge our candidates on. Very few times do we talk about policy. So I got to think, this past week about, what are the policy and what is the policy difference? Why am I a Democrat? What made me the way I am? What makes me want to push certain agendas? Basically, that's basically how politics works, right? You have these ideas, and then you vote and you make laws that change things to shape the world in the way that you view it and should be shaped. What concerns me is we are really looking at our contestants, or the folks running, and just talking about how they laugh or how they look, or what size shoes they have, or how big their hands are, or whatever happens on Facebook never really talks about the policies. And what I wanted to is start talking about policies in a way where I think people can understand them. And the one that's really been on my mind lately, because I really don't think people grasp it, it's the school voucher program. And so the school voucher program is basically something that has happened in other states. I think Mississippi, Kansas has it, Texas. There's a few states right now that offer school vouchers. So folks that don't know this, the way our Department of Education works is they give a per pupil amount of money, which right now I think is roughly just over $8,000 per pupil. So no matter where you are in the United States of America, what town you're in or what division you're in, or county, your school system is getting roughly $8,000 from the federal government through the Department of Education for each student. And largely that's always used for public schools. And the challenge, what's been happening at least over probably the last decade, is that there's a lot of folks that think you should be able to take that federal money and spend it at whatever school you choose. And at the base, it sounds completely reasonable and simple, right? You're just taking the money that, instead of the school district getting it, it would go to, in our case, to make argument's sake, say St. Bernard's or St. Joseph's or whatever, St. Michael's, whatever schools there are locally, Williams School over in New London, whatever school that you choose to go to, and folks choose to do that now. Even though they're not subsidized in any way by the federal government, they don't get any money. They make a decision, a kitchen table decision. I'm sure. I know some of these schools are upwards of $18,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year to go to these private schools. So you do have this. The $8,000 really would be a subsidy. It wouldn't cover the whole cost. And here's where I think people don't understand the difference. Say if we had our state legislature that was just like Kansas's, and they passed a bill that allowed people to take money out of the public school and bring it to their private school of choice. What they did, I think, in the other state, and it's all different in different states, but federally they're looking to mirror the policy that's happened in Texas, that's happened in Kansas. They're looking to do the same thing federally, so that would allow anybody, it doesn't really matter what the state legislature would say about it, they'd be able to just take that money and have it follow the student. And again, I'm going to kind of go over this as meticulous as I can, so folks understand it, because it does at the base. Most people would say, well, geez, that makes perfect sense. And here's why I tell you why it doesn't. It's not because, Joe's a big union guy and he wants all these teachers to stay in the public schools. What I do believe in our teachers, and I believe in what they do and the work they do. I also believe that they are held to standards that a lot of these other schools aren't or wouldn't be. We're also obligated to teach everybody. In the public school system, when you come in, and you're a disruptive kid, or maybe you have a situation at home that makes you not pay attention or fight. There's all these different things that happen in public school that we have to navigate as a society. We have to let them stay in that school. We move them classes, we move them around, we give them special help. All those things happen. In a private school or private situation, like if you're going to any private school, you're basically an at-will student. Like, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're allowed to stay. The second you're not, they can kick you out, right? And it doesn't really matter what you do. It could be disciplinary. It could be a number of different things. But you would just get reverted back to the public school. And again, that $7,000 or whatever it is, I think the model in some of the other states is they didn't want to absolutely decimate the public school system, so they let the school system keep like $1,200 of the $8,200, and then the $7,000 would follow. And they've done studies, and most of the folks that are taking advantage of it are already there and paying. They already were part of a private school system, so they basically the public school system lost that money. And to give you an example, I think Fitch has around 4,000 students. Currently, let's just say for round numbers, there were 500 that go to private school. Right now, even though there's 3,500 physically in the school, Groton would be getting the federal government money for the full 4,000. So say if that bill passes, and I know there's a lot of fans out there for the school choice, but I think as a local taxpayer, as someone that pays their house and property and their taxes to our town hall, and we basically are the delta, the gap that we pay, the gap between what the federal government pays and what we actually pay, that's made up in property taxes. So imagine this bill passes, and this is a real policy issue. This is something that if you're voting in November, that you have to start thinking about, like, what am I gonna do? Because if they do allow the school choice, we could lose $2 or $3 million right off the bat in the first year, based on the students and how much we lose per student. 7,000 per student. You got 500 students. It's $3.5 million. That money could go and just be disappeared, gone. Now the reality is these folks weren't in the school anyway. Our budget was based on the kids that we're teaching. We're big enough to be able to accept those kids if they drop out and come back. But to lose that kind of money instantly, the argument is, well, it's ripping a Band-Aid off. They weren't teaching them anyway. But we are beholden to every child that comes to our school to educate them. We don't have the ability to say, oh, you know what, so we're just going to get rid of our bad ones and send them here. Get rid of the ones that need extra help and send them there. Those things can't happen in the public school. So if you're thinking that it's going to be good for your property taxes, I mean, I think when it's being sold in some other states that you're saving money, because actually the $7,000 doesn't, or the $8,200 doesn't truly cover the cost per student. I think in Groton, we're around 13 or 14,000 per student. So we're making up the delta now, if between what the feds give us and what we take out of our property tax. So in the ultimate end, you'll be responsible for the whole loss. So if you think that it's going to lower your property taxes by passing a school voucher program, and that's why you're voting for a certain party, you would be gravely wrong, because you would either have to cut from your public schools, or the other choice would be to raise the taxes. That's the only way that you're going to pay for it. And again, if you're watching this show and there's plenty of people that say, well, geez, there's just all this extra money, and we got to figure out how to spend it better. I've been involved in our local budget. If you want to talk brass tacks and how many hours I spent perusing through the Groton Town budget from my 6 years on the RTM and my 3 years on the town council, and been a recreational budget watcher in my spare time when I wasn't serving, um, there isn't a lot of room. Raises and health insurance and all the reasons that we see inflation at our regular job, it gets more expensive. It happens to our teachers and our public workers and our police and firefighters. All that money is going to it's going to go up. It's not going to go down. So back to the school voucher. So now just say, for example, I'm going to give you a little example of what I see happening and what they're going to start to see happening. When you decimate a budget like that, a public school budget, say it was 500 students that actually, and I don't know the numbers, so please don't use these numbers as real numbers. It's me kind of guessing from what I used to remember when I was on the council. Let's just say there were 500 students. And now we have a lot of parents who are on the edge, right? You know, you may be someone that's always wanted your son or daughter to go to Williams School, or maybe another one of the great private schools. We have St. Bernard's. These are all great private schools. I have nothing against the private schools. But if that's something that you wanted to send your child to, and then you look in the paper and see that Groton's budget was reduced by $3 million because the school voucher program went through, and now the talk is where they're going to cut. If you look up Wichita, Kansas, they've closed 6 schools. Budgets have been cut and slashed as a result of they couldn't make up through the taxpayer. They couldn't make it up, or they wouldn't make it up. They chose not to. So the private school vouchers put a sort of a pretty good dent into their budget. And the way they solved it was to close schools and cut services to children that need them. And my guess is, if you're someone who was on the fence already about possibly sending your son or daughter out of public school anyway, and I want to even remind you of this: when we think of folks that concentrate on education in their families, or they're very involved. A lot of times they're the ones at the PTO meetings. They're the ones organizing the bake sales. They're making sure that doors are open for activities after. They're advocating for their kid, and in turn, by proxy, by being there, they basically are advocating for all the kids in that school. They're following budgets, and they're making sure they're part of the board of educations, and they're a big part of the community. If we start losing those folks because they see this trajectory of the public school getting defunded through school vouchers. And this is going to sound like the sky has fallen, alarmist is fallen. I don't know how else to explain this to you. If we start decimating our public schools, you will see people that are on the edge bring their kids to private schools also, and then further putting pressure on public schools. And again, I think when I have these conversations, at work with lay people, to me and I say lay people, like, I'm a sheet metal worker. These are other people that are sheet metal workers. I deal with salespeople. I deal with professionals. And it does make sense if you don't know about the budget. You would say, why would you get paid for a kid if they're not going to be in the school system? But again, if we have kids that show up that need extra care, sometimes it's actually physical care, where ambulance is picking them up every single day and bringing them to sometimes physical therapy. If you're mandated to us, and I agree with this, and I think most people do, that if you have a school-age kid that's in that town, they fall under the Department of Education, and that money in their services get paid through the education department. That does not happen in private schools. They can pick and choose the kids that make it to their school. And again, I'm not demonizing private school. I think there's a place for it. But I also think that we should concentrate in this country on providing the absolute best, top-of-the-line education that we can get to everybody. And if there's folks that choose to go do something else and find education elsewhere, that's what America's about. It's free. If you want to learn at home, also what America's about. But if you live in that town and you're school-aged, those federal dollars, to me, undoubtedly should go to that education system. And why am I talking about this? Because again, I lean back onto my post, like from last week, when I started talking about personalities and what someone should or shouldn't do when being shot at. Why was I talking about that? I don't know. It's not something I normally going to sit there and talk about. But I think the moment got me. And then when I saw the response and the vitriol, I said, okay, let's really concentrate on policy. I'd love to have someone that's from the private school on the show if they want to talk about how they think it's going to help improve public education, or if they think it would not. I mean, I'd love to hear what their opinion is. I did want to get Susan Austin on here to get hard numbers because this is something that's going to happen. I think, when I said the sky's falling, if right now, if you looked at the polls and said the Republican Party took over right now, tomorrow, and they could vote on school vouchers. Betsy DeVos was there for 4 years. Right? She was the education czar. They want to eliminate the education department, the United States Education Department. So if they got elected and they're in, they're going to apply these laws to us, and that's where we can talk about the person you like or don't like. But you have to ask, what does that policy do to me, to my town? What's it do to my children? If I'm someone, now, when you think about the people that are on the edge, that leave the school, that were the PTO members, now what's left? The people that really, really still want their kid to get the right education, but that $7,000 doesn't even cover that gap, so they don't even have the option. Now they're stuck in a school that is severely underfunded just from one year to the next. Now, this isn't even, and there is no scale or slide, or I don't accept any of that where they'll say, well, we'll give them most of it, and then the next year 10%, because it just doesn't work. Our public education system works and has worked for all of us. I mean, there's people at my age that are 50-something that are saying, well, they need to cut public education. Well, we went through the same system. If you don't like exactly the way the public education system's working, then get involved. Join a school board. See what they're doing. Go to the classrooms. We can all go to career days. I'm sure schools ask for volunteers for mentoring. Let's make our public schools stronger. Let's not attack them. That's my view on it. And again, there's people that are going to have a different view, but I really think that people need to really kind of understand it. I'm not even talking about like Title I stuff yet. I want Representative Conley. I want to get her on the show. She knows the ins and outs of all that. But Title I is something having to do with special education, and they want to get rid of that. I mean, the impact of getting rid of Title I, the hundreds of millions of dollars across our state that normally goes to schools that have high special education rates, that are disadvantaged kids. And I will tell you this. If you think that getting your kid the Head Start, we already, in America, I think we can all agree, some kids, and if you don't agree, you're probably not living in the same reality I see, but some kids have advantages over other kids, right? Their parents can afford tutors, or mom and dad both went to college, and that they get home from school, there's an hour time where they're really enjoying going over the homework with their children. It was not something I enjoyed. I didn't want to come home and do homework with my kids. I didn't like homework when I had school. So here I am at sheet metal work. I'd much rather show my kids how to hit a baseball, or go downstairs and work in the shop and make something, which has all of its value to it. But that kid inherently, with the parents with the education, is going to have a little bit of a jump and head start on the kids that don't. What I see happen with school vouchers is, we already have people, let's say it's a 100-meter race. We have already people, youngsters that are starting at the 20-meter mark. The school voucher is going to turn that into the 40, 50-meter. And, when you brag to me about how great your kid is and how fast they are, it's like, yeah, they beat the fastest kid on the track, but the fastest kid was really starting at the true starting line, and your kid was at the 80-meter mark in the 100-meter race. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen. It sounds like it's drastic, but it's not. It's happening in our country already. If you Google it, sit down and just Google school voucher program, look it up in Wichita, Kansas, and see what the results of it. Look at the results that they're finding in Houston, and then look at the results and find out the participants. Because a lot of times right now, because it is still early, but it's like 70 and 80% of the people that are using the voucher were already going to private school. We're already doing it. And if you're a parent, out there and your kid goes to private school, listen, $7,000 is probably going to be a great bump, because I'm sure it's not easy paying that tuition, no matter what the tuition is. We're all hurting, but it's absolutely going to decimate our public schools. And I keep saying decimate and make it, and I don't like using hyperbole, because I'm not. I don't think I am. I think when you take that kind of money, I've seen in action as a state representative that was up there when we had our governor propose a $7 million cut to Groton. I already got to see the scenario of what minus $7 million would do. Dr. Grenier was the superintendent at the time, and it was full panic mode, because our schools, our community, our families, it would look different in Groton. And when you take away that kind of money, especially at one fell swoop, which didn't end up happening. We had me and Representative Conley up there working hard, yelling and screaming, making sure it didn't happen. But it's how you vote. You know, the people that we put in place, the people that we trust, we trust that they're going to make the right decisions for us. And I really hope that if you're looking one way to vote one way this November, that you take this issue, I say, as serious as you can. Even the people that come out to me and say, "Hey, Joe, I don't have any kids. Why would I even pay for any kid to ever be educated? I didn't have kids in the system." If you're at work and you've heard that argument, we all have. The folks that never had kids will ask why that they're part of the education system. Well, that same person, if they're doing anything in their community, if their tax guy or tax woman went to a public school or any school, that's why you pay. You want your community around you to be educated. The United States military is looking for people with high school diplomas. There's a reason for that. Our military is high tech. You are a beneficiary of a good public education system. We all share in that. And I think sometimes we lose sight of it. So if you're at work tomorrow and someone gives you that line, "Why should I pay?" There's 350 million reasons to me. I think every person in America benefits from a well-educated society. I think we're the world's leader. We have the world's biggest economy. It can all go back to the public education system and what we have here. Now, not everyone doesn't believe that. I think some people think that you could do it with zero education. Like you don't need teachers because we figure things out. But when you see, especially in advanced manufacturing, and that's where I work, when you see the level of thinking that's going to be required for the next generation, the computers that they're going to work with, 3D printing, we talk about the manual stuff and how we need welders and how we need 25,000 engineers a year in this country to keep up with the technology that we hope to be competing in the future. 25,000 engineers, sure. I mean, that's what we were last year of available jobs. So, we don't make that number better by reducing the pool that we have to work with. And I would argue that the folks that can't afford the secondary or the private education, that they're going to do that anyway. They're going to make it, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad that they're able to do that. I really am. I have a lot of friends and actually family that graduated from private schools, and they love their experience. But I think they need to also get on board, because I think if you went to a private school, you would probably say, yeah, you know what, we should get that money. I hope what I said tonight has helped you a little bit. Maybe it didn't. If you want to come on my show and you want to debate me about the merits of what I'm saying, I'd love to have you on, because I am passionate about this, and I think that we need to concentrate on our public system. It's the one we got, right? And to me, if you don't like it, you can change it. I have seen things. We've seen change. Whether you like it or not, there's folks that they wanted to see things happen in their school, like you can get rid of books in Florida. I mean, it happens. That's people. I wouldn't do it. I don't suggest it. I'm not asking if you want to do that. I guess you're going to run for the Board of Education in whatever town, but you'll have to knock on doors in Connecticut and tell people that you want to get rid of a bunch of different kind of books, and that might not get you elected. But if it does, that's what the people ask for. So my point is, I mean, we have this access in our country to become part of whatever solution we see fit. So instead of putting your head down and saying that you can't change anything, get involved. And I will tell you this much: if you do get involved and start at the, especially Board of Education, it's the lion's share of Groton's budget, of any town's budget. And people ask me, I figured out a long time ago why education's so expensive. It's because it's worth it. That's the easy answer. We have our biggest commodity are our people, and you'll hear politicians say it. You'll hear people say it all the time, that the children are our future, and all these things that sound good. But when you actually think about what the next generation is going to be tasked with, there's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to deal with. If you really think that they're going to be able to compete with another nation, China, for example, has 350 million college graduates in their country. The entire population of the United States is 350 million. When you have that kind of power, and I say power, educational power, where a population and that many folks that are able to move you forward, whether it's technology or defense, whatever you're working on, we are outnumbered. But I don't believe we're outclassed. And I think the big reason is our public education system. No one gets left behind. There's a lot to that, and that you don't see elsewhere in other systems. You can get left behind in a capitalist system, private school. You can get left behind if you just get kicked out. You don't need to do much. You could, one fight or one whatever, and where that is the life ending, your career ending in your school done, that's not the end in public education. They still work with you. We would do it as a community. And hopefully we get some other teachers on. I've spoke to some teachers that actually don't understand it. I think they don't understand the loss of funds as relates to students that are going away. And I don't think we really truly have grasped how many kids would move forward and go ahead with the voucher and move on. And I mean, it may sound sad that you'll say, well, we're taking away an opportunity from somebody, but I want to give the best chance and best opportunity to as many people as we can and let them make the best of in that system. Let the parents get involved. You guys change it. You do what you have to do. This is the first issue I'm talking about, right? We have other stuff to talk about. Tonight was about the school voucher program, and I strictly stayed on point, I feel. I talked a little Title I stuff. But really, the school voucher program is something that, to me, is probably one of the biggest issues this November. I'm going to start talking about these different issues. Again, Born Political, Joe Delacruz, you can find me, get in contact with me. If you want to be on the show, I'd love to have you. If you're on the other side of this issue, I'd love to have you on the show too. I do want to get a couple teachers on, but there's a lot of different issues we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about guns, all these hard issues that a lot of folks don't want to address. And they kind of leave it go until someone's elected, and then they get legislated on. And that's what I don't want to have happen. I think there's a lot of people in Wichita, Kansas right now that wish that they may have voted for someone different, because their school, their public education system looks far different than it did just a year ago. And they're not alone. There's a lot of other communities in our country that are dealing with it. I was down to my final minute. And everyone's like, God, Joe, can you talk by yourself for a half hour? I could talk to myself all night. It's what I do. My wife will tell you that. But in reality, guys, take that, food for thought. First one, next time we're going to come up with another subject. And it's not to divide people. You make your decision tonight. That was my take. Maybe your take is different. I am Joe Delacruz. This is Born Political. I will be back every Thursday up until this election and beyond, except for the first Thursday of the month. But I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time, next Thursday on Born Political. See you then.